Today I canned some walnut syrup, and this recipe is from the Ball Blue book. It's actually the praline syrup recipe, but I'm using walnuts instead. As you can see, you can use it on ice cream or pancakes, or I think it would be real good on a piece of pumpkin pie. I doubled this recipe, so I needed to chop up enough walnuts so that I had 2 cups of walnut pieces. Then I mixed together 4 cups of dark corn syrup, 1 cup of water, and 2/3 cup of light brown sugar. You're supposed to use dark brown, but I only had light brown. To give this syrup more taste, I added 3 tablespoons of molasses. This is my doing. It's not called for in the recipe. Then you need to bring the syrup to a boil and boil it for 1 minute. It expands a lot when it gets hot, and I had to transfer it into a bigger pot. Then reduce the heat, stir in the walnuts and 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and simmer it for 5 minutes. Now I'm ready to can it. I have my lids at a simmer, and I have my bottles hot and ready. I take a hot bottle, I fill it with the walnut syrup. I get the air bubbles out with the bamboo skewer. I wipe the rim of the bottle clean. I add a lid and I tighten it firmly. Then I set the bottle back into the water bath canner to stay warm until I have all of the bottles full. When I've made this in the past, I always used half-pint jars, and these narrow neck bottles probably weren't the best choice for this syrup. In the future, I'll either go back to half-pint jars or I'll use bottles with wider necks. You need to make sure you have at least 1 inch of water covering the lids and process it for 10 minutes. A few minutes into it, I realized that I didn't have 1 inch, so I had to go back and add it and start over. So when the time was up, I turned off the heat, let it sit for 5 minutes, and then I took the bottles out, set them on a towel on the counter to cool. When I can with these bottles, I'll add a couple of empty jars to the pot. That way they keep the bottles from tipping over while they're processing. This walnut syrup is real good. It's a little bit like pecan pie. So that's how I can walnut syrup. I hope it helps.